Recently, we've been having an influx of fascination with superheroes. Why shouldn't we? There are these great and powerful beings that protect and serve the community. In our reality, we have first responders as our superheroes because they put their lives on the line for us. But there are other heroes out there that go unknown and keep under the radar. They spend their entire lives fighting for their community to make it a better place. This is a story of one of those heroes.
And I don't know about the ring finger.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do them all.
The ring finger and the thumb, you have to. Okay, I'm gonna let you pull them.
Yeah, here. And then you can just adjust them.
Okay.
All right, cool.
But, you know, I take that. Did you put a new spray out?
No,
Huh?
no.
No? Okay, the top came off of that spray
The nasal.
yesterday, and I lost some of it. But I sprayed last night with it.
Yeah.
Remember when we do pills tomorrow to check the spray
Okay.
and see if we got okay, pull the sock and the tongue, pull the tongue of the chute. There you go. All right.
Good.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Let me get the seams inside so it doesn't touch your neck.
Mm-hmm. What is it, kind of red flag?
Not even close.
Huh?
Not even close.
Not close?
Dark blue, green.
Hmm.
How's that
No. Undo it. Let's work. Yeah. Will it fold another? It's so wide. It gets up on my ears and.
I folded it in half.
Huh?
Hold on. All right, try this.
Okay.
Yeah?
Oh wait, no. That just come down here.
Okay.
Now, come around. Now come around. See, that's. Huh?
I don't know, you tell me.
Huh?
Tell me. What do you think? I don't know.
You're pretty close. It came out about the same distance, didn't it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So we're just doing leather coat then?
Go from front to back.
Leather coat.
Yes. Uh-huh. There you go. I didn't comb my hair today, does it?
That's okay. You're wild today.
It's all
You're
right.
wild.
Doesn't need it, does it?
No, you have short hair.
Mm-hmm.
You have short hair. You're being reckless today.
Need what?
You're being a rebel when I'm brushing your hair today.
Now,
Hold on, Bill.
okay.
Hold on. Hold on.
Easy.
Okay, hold on.
Easy.
Hold on.
Easy on it. Oh.
What the hell? Why are we having trouble?
Was it twisted?
Because I have no idea.
There you go.
That was weird.
It's coming out. Well, I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but we moved to Texas when I was 5 years old. Quite a memorable trip and very significant in my saga of kidney failure because I traveled with my father on the train from Pittsburgh to Beaumont, Texas, and he was just recovering from a strep throat. But needless to say, I got the strep throat. By the time we reached Beaumont, I had a fever of over 102. And in those days, 10% of the kids that got strep throats ended up either with renal failure or rheumatic fever. I got renal failure.
Renal failure is a condition where the kidneys can no longer do the job they were doing before, excreting the substance, the solute, the fluid. What we call the toxin, the kidneys cannot do that.
Since Bill's kidneys are no longer functioning, he must undergo kidney dialysis 3 days a week for 5-hour sessions for the remainder of his life.
Kidney dialysis is a way of doing the job the kidneys used to do, but when you develop renal failure, the kidneys cannot perform that job, such as excreting the urine, excreting the toxin, and the electrolyte. Now the dialysis machine does it. The dialysis machine, what it does, it's a dialyzer, it has a membrane where by the process of diffusion, you have substances going from one side, the blood side of the membrane, to the dialysis side. And then by that process of diffusion, you remove the toxin.
I was advised not to play contact sports because of my kidney condition, which was identified when I was 6 years old. And so I endeavored at other things. I got into radio, ham radio. I was probably the first one in my peer group to actually build a stereo amplifier and have a stereo set. That was in the mid-50s, and stereo was just becoming the new thing in audio. We grew up doing that, making stereo kits. Before that, I grew up making model airplanes. I made a lot of model airplanes. And that's where I got into engines. The first engines I had were little tiny model airplane engines. You'd fly them on what they called a U-control, which was 2 wires that would move the elevator up and down to make the plane go up and down. And you had this wire, so you'd fly it round and round in a circle. Well, we flew this thing on a short leash in my front yard. It was designed to be flown on a 30-foot leash, but because the yard had tree stuff, we had to fly it on a 15-foot leash. So we'd take turns of getting out there with this little model airplane. We'd crank it up, we'd fly it, and we'd fly around and round and round, and we're going around so fast that finally we'd fall down in the yard, and the plane would crash into a tree. Well, then it was the next guy's turn, and we'd crank it up again, and he'd fly it and fly it and fly it. And you'd see if could anybody fly it till it ran out of gas. Well, nobody could. Everybody got so damn dizzy they fell down, and the plane crashed into a tree or a shrub or something. All of this, you say, well, what does this have to do with dialysis? Well, it learned to. I think what I would say is it taught me how to be resourceful and inventive, and it taught me an awful lot about mechanical equipment, because when I started dialysis, the dialysis machines were, I guess you could say they were Model Ts at best, maybe Model A. They were really the first era of dialysis machines, and they had been designed and put together by guys that were either inventors or kind of development engineers, and then they had been marketed by the people that made the dialyzers, and it was all mechanical. There was some electrical, but it was all electrical mechanical, and some of this stuff would break. It just didn't last very long in the early ones. So I took this dialysis machine home. I was first patient in Texas to have a home dialysis machine. I took it home, and I had been well trained in the machine. I knew how to fix it. I knew how to take it apart. Well, next thing you know, it breaks down while I'm on dialysis. And I decide, well, I could put the dialyzer in bypass and I can fix this pump and I don't have to discontinue dialysis and stop again. So I could bypass the dialysis for say 30 minutes while I'm fixing the pump. And I had a closet that I had made into like a little lab. I had all the tools, all the supplies, all the chemicals, and I had 2 centrifuges, and I had a drawer full of spare parts. Oh, something break, I'm still hooked up to the thing. But I had long lines. I'd walk into the closet, dig around, find what I needed, come back, take the doors off the machine, put the thing in bypass, shut the pump down, fix the pump, put it back together, set the pump back in motion, and take the dialyzer out of bypass and start dialyzing again. Now, people today would say that I was absolutely crazy. First off, it was dangerous, and secondly, it was crazy to even do such a thing. But we did stuff like that. Now, you talk to any dialysis nurse, probably even half of the doctors today, and they'd say, no, you didn't do that. Well, we damn sure did do that, because there wasn't a dialysis center on every corner. We really were pioneers in the whole process. I mean, we did things that people today simply cannot believe we did. An insurance policy or an employer-sponsored benefits would not pay for dialysis or a transplant because they considered them experimental medicine. So it was clear there was a large number of people that had no coverage for dialysis and transplantation.
In 1971, Bill and 4 other dialysis patients traveled to Washington, D.C. to plead their case in front of the Ways and Means Committee to make dialysis be paid for by Medicare. One of these patients was Chef Glazier, the vice president of the National Association of Patients on Kidney Dialysis.
We took a cab over to the Longworth building, and we walked in, and there was Shep down at the end of the hall, and Shep comes running down the hall, waving his fist. Litchfield, you can't talk me out of this. I'm going to do it. I don't care what anybody says. So we talked a bit, and I said, well, Shep, I guess if you're so determined to do it, then we're all going to go in there with you together. So there were 4 of us, and we filed in. We sat in some old wooden chairs that were in front of the podium where the congressman sat. They were at least 6 feet higher than we were, looking down on us like we were a bunch of peons. And Shep came in, and behind him he had Dr. Curry rolling a dialysis machine. But he explained to the committee that dialysis was safe, efficacious, and that we really needed funding universally for everybody that needed dialysis. And then each of us got to say a few words, and that was it. We were probably not there more than 15 minutes. But to make a long story short, that was early November 1971. And later in November, there was a large, ominous Social Security reform bill going through Congress called H.R. 1. At the last moment, Senator Harkin from Iowa inserted a small paragraph, number 299I, and it said, under the Medicare program, funds will be provided for kidney dialysis and transplantation. That's all it said. And that started what is now a $50 billion program. All right. We're going to bring Benny a cheeseburger.
Okay.
Cynthia's got, I think I've got a, yeah, we'll worry about that when we get there. Look for, I'm sure I've got some means of payment. I came from a family of two. I had a sister, mother and father. I've had 2 wives, 3 children, 3 grandchildren. So first wife, I had 2 children, a boy and a girl. My oldest son is recently retired from the Navy. He was captain of an aircraft carrier. He is now a vice provost at Stanford University in Palo Alto, California. And my daughter lives here in Des Plaines, Illinois, and she is an advertising executive. My son Alex, by my second wife, is a student in DC at the American University. My wife Terry is the Vice President of Operations, I think, at DaVita Lifeline. My grandson Evan is 12. My grandson Keishan Carmona is 11. And my granddaughter Abigail, she is 12, 11, 10. I received a kidney transplant June the 3rd, 1987. I'd been on dialysis almost 20 years. The first 2 kidneys they got, I got one of them. I said, Dr. Fish, I am really apprehensive about this transplant. He put his arm on my shoulder. He says, don't you worry, I'm going to practice on the other guy first. He says, we saved the right kidney for you, which is the one that transplants better. And he says, I said, well, Dr. Fish, could you do this under a local so I could watch? He says, sure, if I could sew your mouth up first. So I recovered and was working full time, and another company whom I had done subcontracting work for came to me in the summer of 1988 and asked me if my kidney transplant was working well. I said, yes, it is. And he said, well, how would you like to move to Singapore? I said, Singapore? I said, I always wanted to live overseas. And I started work, and my wife found us a place to live, and we stayed there almost 3 years.
Even though Bill has been disabled by dialysis most of his life, he has managed to get some traveling done while he was on the transplant.
It's interesting traveling. Well, of course, I'm in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina. And then going the other way, I've been to Japan, Taiwan, China, of course, mainland China, Thailand, Burma, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, Oman, Abu Dhabi, Egypt, France, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, Britain. Maybe that's about it. I think I counted 27. But the transplant lasted 9 years. It failed in 1996, and I returned to dialysis at that time. Well, since I started dialysis in 1968, the machines were, I guess you could say they were like a Model T car. They were fairly basic and they were fairly simple. The dialysis now is, I would say, probably 3 to 4 times as efficient as the cellulose membranes that we used in the early 70s, late 60s. So this has allowed us to do a better dialysis in less time and remove fluid more accurately. So what we have now is a shorter time dialysis that's more comfortable, less leg cramps, less problems with blood pressure dropping, and an accurate measurement of fluid during the course of the treatment. So we have come to a point where dialysis is quicker, more comfortable, and far more efficient.
Let's hear what advice Bill has for new and current patients.
You have a responsibility to yourself to be positive and to attempt to bring yourself back to doing the things you did normally before you had dialysis. And the biggest one is if you are working, go back to work. That can be more therapeutic than the dialysis itself in some cases. If you are working at a job that you cannot do anymore, then find another one and get trained. If you're a student, go back to school. But it's very important that you try to work dialysis into your life so that, and then work back to doing the normal things that you would have done had you not had dialysis. Yes, I've been on dialysis 46 years. I've started the 47th year, the 1st of January. This was given to me by the End-Stage Renal Disease Network of Texas in 2011 after I'd been on dialysis more than 40 years. They did some research and found that absolutely I was the longest surviving dialysis patient in the state of Texas and very possibly in the United States. It's been a long time and it does take its toll on one. At 47 years, it's a beautiful bird that I like to think that I fly high like the eagle.
Bill passed away the night of August 31st, 2014. His fight for survival ended, but his impact on the renal community is still alive.
He, from the very first day that he started on dialysis, was a very strong patient advocate. I think in talking to his family, I think he felt a responsibility because he had been selected, when very few were, to do well and to advocate for other patients. And so he did a lot of patient education. He was a strong advocate with legislators and other medical groups for the dialysis patient population. The second thing is that he was innovative. He knew a lot about the dialysis machine. He was very well versed in how it worked, what it took to get it to work. And as a consequence, he was able to invent several things that were incorporated into a dialysis machine. And so he contributed in that way.
I mean, he was ill most of my life. My brothers, when he was a kid, they told him, you got to prepare for your father's passing, and I was the same way. I talked about it with him. Like my whole life, I've been prepared. Doctors have been telling me, your dad's probably not going to make it. I've heard that many, many times and stuff. And so I don't know what a normal father is because he was my only father, but yeah, he was a good dad.
I think the thing that I always took great pride in was my father's, that he grew with the community. He always felt a great sense of responsibility being one of the first patients. And And he always carried that forward. It wasn't just about his own survival or, this was his life, but he felt a great deal of responsibility to live his life, to maximize the effect of dialysis. And he felt a great responsibility to translate that knowledge back to other people. After a while, I think he had accumulated so much historical knowledge about being on dialysis that he could talk to doctors and to the technicians and people running dialysis in a way that no one else really could. And one of the things that really struck me about how much history he really carried as a patient, and this is that sense of history, right? That he had come from a point where he was a pioneer as a patient. He had followed what that meant to be treated by the medical community, by the field of nephrology. And he then was able to set a standard for himself to determine what his care was going to be. And I think that's pretty incredible. And he was, that's how he did it. And that's why he lived as long as he did.
He was an engineer, but he was also a salesman. So when he would get clients that called him at home at night, you could always tell who he was talking to by how he talked to them. So if it was somebody who was Asian, he would start bowing while he was talking on the phone, even though they couldn't see him. And he's, oh, yes, yes, and just modulating his tone and everything. Or if he was talking to one of the good old boys, he'd drawl it out and, yeah, thanks, y'all, and, get the whole Texan accent going. And I don't know, it was just funny. It's like his whole body would change, his swagger a little bit or something. And so we always knew who he was talking to by that. That was pretty funny, but I think that's why he was probably a very good salesperson, too, because he, kind of spoke to people in a way that they could understand. I didn't really know the right word for it until just recently, because my son is in school and his school is talking a lot about grit. And I didn't understand really what that meant, but my father taught me grit. You just keep going. If you don't succeed the first time, you keep going, you keep pushing, you keep trying. And, that's what he did. That's how he lived his life.